Den! Are you looking things up? What are you doing?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing.
So a topic I've been hearing a lot about from a lot of different people. I mean, recently Kotaku just made an article about it, but it reminded me that I've heard this a lot of times from a lot of different people. This console generation has had a very weird transition. A lot of people think that it's not a big jump in technology or graphics, and that it was a little bit unnecessary. And I guess they say it's a weird transition because a lot of little nitpicky things changed. To me, it feels significantly different, but you still feel a little bit of the old consoles in the new consoles. Some obvious stuff like the controllers are they only changed a little bit, but why fix what ain't broken?
Right.
I don't think you think that it was a big jump.
I don't. I'll be honest. I haven't really dabbled in the next gen all that much. I've played our PS4 3 times.
What did you play?
I played Resogun, Battlefield 4, and Outlast.
You played Battlefield 4?
5 minutes of Outlast. Yeah.
Did you beat Battlefield 4?
No, I didn't beat Battlefield 4. I played Battlefield 4. Yeah, I didn't think so because I played it for a while, and I'm just like, okay, this is Battlefield 3, but prettier. See, I don't know if it's necessarily there yet. You can certainly tell in certain games like Battlefield that the higher poly count is there. But I mean, for a lot of other games, it's really more about particle effects. That's like the next big thing.
Well, that's the thing. They say poly count isn't a big deal anymore because there's so much processing power that it doesn't. The poly count just doesn't matter. But it's the individual objects that count is insane on these new consoles. Like you have a game like Resogun. Resogun, if a normal person saw that, like if mom saw that, she'd be like, what, I can run this on my phone. No, you can't. Because when you die, millions of pieces of you explode, and each one of those pieces has their own individual physics. But again, I think the jump in hardware was well worth it, because something like the Xbox 360, even when it came out, computers were still... when it came out, it kind of matched the computers of the day. What was that, 2006?
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
So, the computers of 2005, now we're almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
Computers are much, much different.
Yeah.
And these new consoles are much more like computers.
Right.
So, I think it's a good job.
I think it's also necessary to remember, too, that when the jump was made from the PS2 to the PS3, let's say, gaming was in a much different place. It was much easier and much less expensive to make, a AAA game. Nowadays, the price to make a game is so astronomically high, and games have to sell like 10 million copies in order to, just break even. So the concentration is a lot different than it was back then. It's much harder to make a game now than it's ever been. Well, much harder to make a AAA game now than it's ever been. So I think you're going to start to see, this generation is going to be more of the indie generation. You're going to see a much bigger focus on like smaller games, by smaller teams. Much more classic like side scroller influenced.
All downloads.
And the big budget releases are going to be, regulated to like, the special games, really. This generation will definitely be the first generation not remembered for its graphics. Like the big graphical leap. This is a generation that's going to be remembered for like completely different things. Like the rise of indie games. I think that's going to be a big one. I think people are going to realize that they don't have to go to the store to buy their next game. The downloading games.
That instead of spending $60 on a game that'll last you 8 hours, you can spend $10 and the game will last you just as long.
And the whole what the hell is the word I'm looking for?
I'm playing Strider. Just came out, $15. Still haven't beat it. I spent I dug like 4 hours into it. $15.
The other big thing about these consoles, more so than last generation, is the connectedness. Like the fact that the internet is not required, but it is required.
Yeah, if you don't connect to the internet, you're wasting your money.
You know, especially because, you know, things like the streaming and the game sharing stuff. Right. That's already like a big deal. You know, we're not even a year into these systems, and already that's what everybody's doing with these consoles.
Big little bugaboo. Big little bugaboo.
Yeah.
I just said. No YouTube app.
Yeah. I'm sure that's coming.
There's an IGN app.
I'm sure that's coming. You know, last generation, the Xbox 360 at launch is different from the Xbox 360 now.
Yeah.
Even the PS3, you know, with its stupid cross-media bar, you know, that's been there the whole time. Even that's a little different now than it was back in the day.
Right.
These consoles are perpetually changing. So, even the Wii, its UI changed, you know, very subtly, but it changed throughout the course of the console's life. So by the end of the generation, you'll have your YouTube app, you'll have your whatever app, you know.
The only difference is then we'll be sucking the information in from little probes in our brains.
Yeah, well, this definitely is a very weird console generation. It's not a bad thing, but it's just there's the jump. Because, like I said, we're so used to like graphics being the definitive, you know, answer as to the next gen jump.
I mean, every console generation has the thing that it's known for.
Right.
God, what? I can't even think about it now. N64 was what, the buttons?
The analog stick.
The analog stick. That was a big that changed everything. Yeah. Oh, and the fact that it was frickin' 3D.
Yeah.
It changed everything. After that was GameCube. You had discs now.
Well, you had discs before that.
Yeah, but now you got Nintendo games with discs.
Yeah. Well, here's.
Wait, okay. I'm not done. I don't want to do Nintendo anymore.
Yeah, because they're actually a really bad example.
Supposedly, Xbox's innovation, the thing that the Xbox 360 is going to be known for, is its achievements.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. I mean,
that's like the innovation.
The fact that
with that console generation.
The fact that Sony now has trophies. The fact that Steam has achievements.
Yeah.
The fact that even some Nintendo doesn't have an achievement system, but some Wii games built one in. I'm not kidding. Beatles Rock Band on the Wii has an achievement system.
Good.
So.
And Ubisoft has their own achievement system.
Yeah, with their stupid Uplay garbage.
Yeah.
So you look at gaming through the generation, starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System. I mean, that brought in the D-pad. That brought in games that were more than just getting a high score. Games that you can actually beat. You know, have a beginning and end. Then you go into the 90s, the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo. You know, there was the graphics were, like I said, they were more colorful. They were bigger. The games were bigger. The sound was bigger. Everything got bigger.
More buttons.
More buttons.
Well, if there could be one thing, what would it be about the jump from NES to the SNES?
It would probably be graphical fidelity. Definitely there, because like an 8-bit game and a 16-bit game were night and day.
Okay.
So that's definitely
or music,
right? But mostly because this is the first thing you see.
All right.
And then the jump from that to the PlayStation 1 and the N64. The fact that 3D is now...
Yeah, that was the biggest jump anybody's seen.
And then Nintendo had to bring in the analog stick to make controlling 3D. Because there have been 3D games before on like the PC and in arcades, but this was the first time that like controlling 3D worked and worked well. And the fact that, you were going to CDs now.
Yes.
In that era. And then after that, with the PS2... especially the GameCube and the original Xbox, everything got much more smoother, much more refined. The games were getting a little bigger.
And now your DVDs.
And online is starting to take its first steps, like its first real steps in the home console market.
So now what's the one thing here?
Here?
Yeah. This jump.
Probably...
Online?
No, because I would argue that the generation after that, because that's when online really was like important.
I think this pioneered online.
It pioneered online,
but the next generation really refined it into what used its full potential. So I would say the Xbox, the original Xbox.
Right.
I almost said Xbox One. The original Xbox, PlayStation 2 era. I would say that it's online.
Also, too, like the original Xbox was the first console to only have broadband internet at a time when not everybody had broadband internet. So like that was a big deal. The next generation, like the PS3, the Xbox 360, that you can definitely say the HD era. You know, because that's when everything went HD. Even when people didn't have HD, every console had an HDMI port. You know, they were ready for it, and their games were designed for it.
Well, the 360 didn't at first.
At first, but then they got one.
They were also the first system out, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all right. Raise your hand if you still have your launch Xbox 360. Didn't think so.
And good for you. Yeah. One guy all the way in the back was lying. So there's a trend here. Once the PlayStation 1 used CDs. Mm-hmm. When DVD came out, they switched to DVDs with the PlayStation 2. When Blu-ray came out, they switched to Blu-ray with PlayStation 3.
Now they're still on Blu-rays.
Now they're still on Blu-rays, which is another reason why it hasn't caught up yet.
Right.
I'm a little upset that they didn't go 4K. Because we're so close to 4K. I want this console generation to last as long as it can.
You gotta understand, though, because one of the reasons why it's so hard to make games in HD is because you have to make the picture so big. Right. So they already have problems making pictures in 1080p. They have problems making pictures in 720p. Now they have to make it in 1080p for these consoles. Even that's apparently a problem. Yeah. And now they have to make it in 4K, which is like this big. So I guarantee you, next generation, if there is a next generation, it'll be 4K.
I mean, I'm not one to snub on graphics.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are 4K compatible.
For video.
For video, yeah. But when they come out with the next video format,
yeah,
these aren't going to be compatible unless that next video format is strictly streaming. Which streaming 4K, imagine the whole world streaming their Netflix 4K.
Yeah,
that's not going to go over very well.
No, it's not. So, what have we learned in this episode? Probably nothing.
We've learned what made each console generation move forward.
Right.
And we've learned how this console generation moved forward, even though people don't think it did. Do you like this video? If you do like it...
You probably didn't like this video.
I'm only going to ask you to share it. Because that is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's probably the most helpful thing.
Let people know that there are two brothers from Long Island who like to argue about stupid things in their
You don't even have to subscribe, because if you might not even watch the... What's the point of subscribing if you're not going to even watch the videos? Maybe you only like this one video. Then share it. Thank you guys very much. Oh, we're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right here.
Do that. And the Facebook.
Yes, we have that. Thank you guys very much. Have a good week.
Written and illustrated by Sean Murphy and released by Vertigo Comics, Punk Rock Jesus tells the story of a young boy named Chris. Cloned from the Shroud of Turin, who was created to be the star of a new reality show about the birth and life of the second coming of Christ.
So I've never played this game before. I'm just going to jump right into it, and I'm sure I'm going to do absolutely amazing, as I always do. I just lied to you. I already made the captured footage. I'm filming this after, and it went very poorly.